Hi, everyone. Thanks for your patience with a little bit of a late start this morning. My name is Charlene Lee, and I'm going to be talking today about what does it mean to actually be a leader. And it's interesting because it's such a wide area of study, as you can imagine. There have been hundreds and thousands of leadership books being written about what does it mean to actually be a leader. And today I want to talk a little bit about that. And in particular, I want to talk a little bit about what are the misunderstood qualities of being a leader. And so, as we get started today, I'm just going to try to get into my screens here. A little bit more difficult because I'm traveling today and I only have one screen, a laptop. So, it's a little bit more difficult to make everything happen, but we're just going to make it work. So, what I'd love you to do is to share what are some of the qualities of a leader that you think makes a great disruptive leader leader in general, but also a disruptive leader, somebody who's creating a huge amount of change. And I, in particular, are interested in what is it that you see in a person when you think of that leader, when you aspire to be a leader yourself. What are the things that you think about? And so today I'm going to talk about three qualities of a leader, and they're not your normal things about having a vision and all those things. Those are great and important things, and I want you to share those because, again, in the chat, and I'll read out as many of them as I can. But I want to talk about three things in particular. And these are sort of misunderstood aspects of leadership. And I wanted to do this particular stream today, this content today, because I'm doing a whole series of topics around leadership over the next few weeks. So I hope you'll tune in and hear about them and can engage in a discussion about it too. All right, so let's get started. I think the first key quality of a leader that I think is really important to understand is that it's not about a title. Oftentimes people will come up to me and go, well, I'm not a manager, I'm not a leader in my organization. So how I can't really make any changes. I have to wait until I have that title, that promotion to get anything done. And I think this is the most important and first most important thing to think about as a quality leader. It has nothing to do with your title. It has everything to do with your mindset. And what I think is so powerful about this idea is that change can come from anywhere. And the more that you, as an established official leader in your organization, to promote the fact that every single person in your organization has the potential to be a leader, to be a disruptive leader, regardless of the title. And it comes all the way back to just having a mindset that they could be a leader. Imagine the amount of change that you could create in the organization, the amount of people who would step up into that role. And so the way I think about leadership in this very first area is that it is a calling. Leadership is not a title. It is not, just something that you're candid and given. It is a calling. You are called to serve as a leader. You see a change and you see something that needs to happen. So you are called to step into that void and become the leader that that moment demands. We see this all the time in organizations where, in the stress of battle, for example, people will step in to roles of leadership. Come on, let's go and charge that hill. And in fact, I was speaking to a Navy recruiter many years ago, and I asked him, what is it that you look for? What is a quality that you look for in a new recruit? Again, these are recruiters who typically talk to 17, 18, 19-year-olds, people in the early stages of their life. And his answer was really interesting. He goes, we're looking for leaders. We're looking for people who have the potential to be leaders. That's our number one quality. We don't care about how fit you are. We don't care about what kind of background. Can you be a leader? Do you have those underlying qualities? And the number one thing he said was mindset. Give us examples, they would interview, where you stepped in because somebody was being bullied, or you stepped in and you raised your hand to volunteer for something. And what they're looking for, again, are in moments when leadership is needed and is called upon, will these individuals step up and actually become the leader that is needed at that moment? Because again, you never know when that's going to be needed, especially on this ship in the middle of the ocean, in the middle of nowhere. There were no replacement troops coming in. So they're really looking for leaders. And I really look to that to say, if every single person that you hire, that you bring onto a team, has the potential to be a leader, to lead that team in your absence, that's the quality you really want to look for. And if you're aspiring to be a leader, then all the more so look for the opportunities where you can be stepping in. And that comes to my second issue, my second quality. And that is you need to be creating change as a leader. And I'm just going to put out this quote because I think it's so incredibly true. Let me just get to it so I can show it. I still believe that this is the case, that if you're not creating change, then you're not a leader. And in fact, if you're not creating change, then you're a manager. And I say this with all the greatest respect for all the managers that are out there. Managers do an incredibly important job, which is they make sure things keep running, things keep going. They manage the status quo. And so that's fantastic if you want to make sure that everything is running on time, that operations are happening smoothly. We need managers to make sure that things keep working. But a leader is different. A leader is there to create change. That is by definition what you need to be doing. So thinking about what does it mean to be a leader, the first one is that you have a mindset that you will be called to create that change. The second one is, of course, you got to be creating change. And so this is a difficult thing because oftentimes we have people in leadership positions and it feels like everything that they do is just the opposite. They are intentionally trying to not create change. They see their job as a leader to maintain the status quo. And that is when I work with these leaders to understand, why are you focused on making sure that nothing changes? Because if nothing changes and the world around you is changing, that means you're going not just maintaining things and making sure things operate, but you're falling behind and moving into a world of stasis, which is not helpful to anybody. So I think one of the key and important ideas here is that leadership is really about being able to create that change. And my friend Mo Casti was another great leadership specialist. We did a fishbowl session last week. Excuse me. One of the things that he defined this as is leadership is being able to create the ability to have an impact on the world. And that impact on that world is, it can be the whole world. It could be just the world that you see within your team or even within yourself. But there's a change, there's an impact happening because of your presence, because of your leadership. So I want to take a moment and just see if there's any comments here. We got quite a few. So we have some things here. Some people are contributing. So thank you so much for joining. Mario, thank you for just maintaining and holding the space until I could get on. Thank you for doing that. Dunbar, thank you for joining. Jay has this one comment here that says, keep areas of qualities, of vision and empathy. And Jay, I cannot agree with you more on that. You need to have this vision of where we're going, the change you want to create. But then you also have to have empathy for the people around you. They may be able to change as quickly as you want, but they may not. Have empathy for the people you're trying to serve. Are they ready for the change? How will they accept it too as well? So thank you for that, Jay. We also have this other quality from Mikhail, a leader makes things happen. So spoken just exactly, I would like to see it. That change is happening, things are changing, things are coming to fruition. There are outcomes, there are deliverables, things are happening. And then we have this great comment from Shashma that leaders think out of the box and create innovative ideas. Again, I think it's such right on top of what we were just talking about here, which is we really are trying to look for new ways of thinking, different ways of thinking, ways to think about doing things better. And then we also have Dr. M here, that leaders should have passion and involvement. So key, because until you have that, unless you're convinced that this is what you want to do and the way that you want to be moving forward, it's just not going to happen. So thank you for those comments. I really appreciate them. And I want to go into the third area. which is this whole idea of leadership is one aspect of this where you're creating the change. But the other side of this, I think about it as the flip side of the coin. If leadership is on one side, then followership is on the other side. And the reason why I think of followership as being so important is that because when you think about it, what is leadership in the end? It's there's an idea of being a leader, but what is leadership? And I just want to put up this one thing here, one little quote here. I'll just put it up a little bit bigger because I so believe in this, and that leadership is a relationship between people who aspire to create change and those who are inspired to follow them. Again, it's simply a relationship between people who aspire to create the change, that quality we're talking about, creating change. Mm-hmm. But it's also very important that you're influencing and you're calling people to this charge of change who are being inspired. And that goes back to some of the other comments that we just heard, which is this is not just about you saying, okay, let's go do it. Well, where's the vision? Where are people going to come and follow and hear and understand that this is something bigger than themselves? And one of my favorite quotes comes from the book, The New Power, where the authors say, it's a movement. You're creating this movement to create the change when it moves without you. And the practice of followership acknowledges the fact that this relationship is not a given and that you have to think very, very intentionally about the type of relationship you want to have with the people who are following you. I really am taken by this work by Robert Kelly, and he had this whole model called the followership model. And he said that there's a different types of followers you can have and the types of relationships you can have with them. You could have people who are very passive in the way that they're thinking about their following, or very active. And they could also be very independent and they're critical, or they could just be not critical and just following you. The people who are passive and just dependent and not critical thinkers, they're sheep. They want to be just told exactly what to do. And the leaders who are in that relationship with them are very comfortable having all of the answers. There's people who are yes people who are going to be more proactive, but they're basically saying yes all the time because they know that if they say no, it's not going to be a very good situation. And then you have some people who may be more critical, but they're holding back and they become alienated, these alienated followers. And the people who are most effective are the ones who, again, are active and also are critical thinkers. And this group is very important because these effective followers have a mind of their own. They're not going to sit back. They have a tremendous sense of agency, and they act as if they were owners. And if you are going to be a disruptive leader, then I really do believe that you need to have a very particular type of relationship with your followers, one where you're really respecting their contributions, asking them to contribute their ideas to help you look around the corners, to help you see your own blind spots and understand how things could be done differently. In order to have that kind of relationship as a follower, you as a leader need to be thinking in a very different way than some more traditional ways of leadership, the charismatic, I know what's right, just do what I say type of leader. And I think this is so incredibly important in these disruptive times when things are moving so quickly and we don't know all the answers. We can't know all the answers because we're talking about the future. There's so much uncertainty, so much volatility that we need to be able to pull in all the best minds possible. So that's why I think that the third quality is the ability to practice followership. So one of the things that I encourage you to think about is what does it mean then to be a leader? What are the qualities? And while vision and empathy and all of these things are incredibly important qualities, I also encourage you to think about how you can foster leadership up and down and throughout your organization by looking at these three qualities and nurturing it in the people around you. Because the more leaders you can foster and develop, the better off your organization is going to be. So again, those three qualities are mindset, the ability to create change, And then finally, the ability to practice followership. So that's what I wanted to talk about today. I do have a couple comments additional here. I just want to make sure I can get to them. Let's see. Here we go. Some great comments here. Mutaza says that leaders show the way and goes the way. I love this because it's one thing to say, let's go this way. Let's practice these new things. But if the leader doesn't do them themselves, if they do not show the way and demonstrate how the way needs to be done, then they're going to lose credibility. And credibility is the foundation for that relationship. Let's see. We have also here from Clinton that leadership is about empathy and influencing the team to listen to you, to trust you, and to go with you the distance because of your charisma and empowerment. So this goes back to that whole idea of followership. And this is about, again, pulling people in, but also giving back out to them in that form of relationship. And if we don't think about it as a relationship, then we start taking that followership for granted. We're not feeding that relationship. We've all been in dysfunctional relationships where you feel like you're giving more, or somebody's taking more from you, and it just doesn't work after a time and it falls apart. And we want to avoid that as leaders. And this is a recognition again and having empathy for the people who you are leading. Where are they coming from? What do they need to hear from you? And really connecting with them at that level. Let's see. There are a couple other comments that I saw here. We have another one from Damon. Understanding the importance of reporting up, connecting down, and reaching out to customers and stakeholders. I love this idea, reporting up and reaching and connecting down through the organization. And Damon, I in particular love this whole idea of reporting up. How do you manage up into the organization to your level, but then to skip levels above you too as well? So thank you for that. Those again are relationships where you may be further down in the reporting organization, but as a leader, you're leading the people above you. And hopefully they're in a position to reciprocate with that followership and leadership mindset. All right, these are great comments, people. Thank you so much for adding all of these. Another quick comment from Dr. M, that followers follow when they see there is absolute necessity for them and they trust the individuals even without a title. Followers become more cohesive when situations are critical. So thank you so much for sharing that. And yes, again, followers will follow if they are inspired to do so, not because they're being told to do so. And then Corrine says, you follow a manager because you have to. You follow a leader because you want to. Thank you for summarizing that. I think that's a great way to post that. And thank you so much, Corrine, for sharing that. I think you're all getting it. You're getting this whole idea that leadership is a relationship and that it just takes that mindset, the ability to want to create change, to step into that space, into that void, and then to really focus on that relationship with your followers. Because at the end of the day, that's all that really matters. If people do not trust you, if they're not inspired by you, they are never going to go and fight the big fights, go across these crazy obstacles to get to that disruptive future that you so all want to create together. So a couple things that I have just for you as resources. If you'd like to get the slides, you can go and get them at charlinglee.com/3-qualities. And I have found from my last live stream that the slash is important. So make sure you include that too as well. And then please join me for my session next week, next Tuesday again at 9 a.m. Pacific, 12 o'clock Eastern time. And we're going to be talking about these contradictions when it comes to leadership. How do you be strong and vulnerable at the same time? There are so many people who come up to me and say, okay, I get this whole idea. I want to be authentic and human and vulnerable, but isn't that going to make me look weak? Won't I look soft? I can't afford to do that. I have to be strong. I can't show any vulnerability. So we're going to be talking about those contradictions next week. So again, it's just one of those really very interesting ways to be thinking about the world. Again, thank you so much for joining, and I wish you all the best week, and I'll see you very soon. Take care.